Well, welcome everyone. And you're listening to the Aging and Spirituality podcast, where we like to chat about our spiritual practices and how to embrace our unrealized highest self. I think we all want, especially at this point in our lives, to open ourselves to the best possibilities. And that's what we're hoping to share with you, our experiences, the things that have worked, the things that haven't worked, and hopefully they'll be helpful to you.
Yes.
Now, often we want to know, what's the real meaning and purpose of our personal lives? I mean, are you at a point in your life where you're really looking for greater meaning and purpose? Finding that purpose in life is one of those things that most people want, whether we know it or not, we want it. And as nice as it sounds, it can seem challenging to attain. There was a study in 2019 that found out that people who believe that they know their life's meaning enjoy greater well-being, they have less symptoms of depression, and a more positive experience of life.
No doubt.
So,
No doubt.
well worth it, right?
Yes.
And so you're wondering, well, how the heck do you discover or rediscover the meaning and purpose of life? Stay with us today, because we're going to share the steps that helped us where we weren't going and where we did go, and try to help you discover the positive, powerful impact of discovering the meaning and purpose in your life. And if you haven't spent a lot of time thinking about it, you probably have some preconceived ideas about life. These baked in ideas we get from our family as we grow up. Get married, have kids, maybe make a certain amount of money or a certain position, or maybe be an artist. But these types of achievements often don't bring the kind of fulfillment that comes with finding the real purpose of your life. A personal sense of purpose is less of a specific end goal and more of an ongoing impact on the world. Your purpose is why. So, I mean, for me, at first, my mother wanted me to be a professional, and somewhere along the line, I decided my purpose in life was to be a poet. And
About 16. I did the same thing.
Yeah. But none of that panned out to anything. How about you, Kathy?
Well, I love what you're saying, and it's really resonating with me, because that idea of purpose has changed in content and form for me so many times. As a younger person, it meant something completely different. Of course, I went to school, I got a business degree, I built businesses, I was an entrepreneur. All of those things felt like a decent purpose, right? Because I came from a very impoverished background. Making money was a big deal. Having a home, having family, that was all really, really important. And if you'd asked me what my purpose was then, that would have been it, to be successful, to have all of those things. And, lo and behold, I'm in my 60s now, and that looks and feels so totally different. So please understand, when I'm talking about my particular experience, it might not be yours at 20. It might not be as relatable at 30. But at some point in your life, that feeling of what purpose is, for me, became more of a feeling than a concrete thing to attain, something to put in your hands and be able to hold. It's not a tangible thing for me anymore, except that love feels tangible to me. Having my heart open feels tangible to me. And I got to a place where I felt called, in a way, after my heart experience. I felt called to always be sharing love on some level, to figure out how I could respond to all of the incidences and circumstances in my life, people in my life, relationships in my life, with love. That became my purpose. That very much became my purpose. And it continues to get refined, like even at 35, as I was starting to discover that was the journey I was going to be on, the road that I was going to be on. Now, 30 years later, it feels like, yeah, I'm still thinking about how can I define my world in a way that I'm always expressing love and adding value as much as I possibly can to the people in my world and to my day, to myself. But even now it feels like it's changing again and morphing into more. Sometimes it feels like an outward expression. Sometimes it's just a inward experience that I'm having. But I feel more of a sense of calling out to talk more about the particular subject, to share it with more people, to see if I can add value in their lives by talking about, you know, the things that make me feel like I'm on purpose now, and see how that actually affects them. So that's kind of where I've come like full circle in that idea of having a purpose in my life.
Yeah, I started out, as I said, my mother was a musician. She was
Right.
a concert pianist. And so she, when she was pregnant with me, she stopped, and that was the end of that. And I think she was very frustrated for the rest of
Mm.
her life. So she wanted me to have a profession. And so I went to school. I studied psychology. And when I found out, because I liked people, and when I was in high school, my aptitudes came out that I was off the charts on abstract thinking, and I was off the charts on that I like to work with people. So I
Mm.
thought that was it. And then I went to college and found out it had nothing to do with people. So I nothing to do with people at all. So
Well, except that you're a teacher, that has a lot to do with people.
well, yeah, but it had psychology and nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I didn't go to graduate school. I got a job in a magazine, and where I met some people who were very like-minded, and we got very involved in all kinds of political protests. And I felt like that was the purpose of my life. I was going to further humanity, I mean,
This was in New York in the what years was that? What,
this was, in the
70s?
early 70s. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, people,
Early
just for
70s.
perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, put it in perspective. I was on the streets. I was on the streets protesting. And then we left in a school bus. A lot of the times we converted a school bus and we left, and we were heading to Chile. That was our goal. And so when we left, I was reading, of all things, Che Guevara's book, because
Wow.
it right in with my political motivation. And when he went to Bolivia and he realized that the people he was trying to help, it just wasn't happening. And so what he wrote about, he said, for this to happen, for us to have this kind of idealistic way of living together, we needed a new man with a new kind of consciousness. And so
Mm.
I started reading things about consciousness.
Right.
And that's how I started reading about Zen, but that didn't quite work for me. And I ultimately found yoga that way, because I was looking for how to be this new person of consciousness.
Mm.
And the interesting thing is, when I started practicing yoga, I was looking to have a spiritual experience. That's what I wanted,
Sure. Yeah.
some kind of experience. And what I found was it wasn't like this big blast off, that it was
But
expecting.
a 40-year blast off.
Right. It was a process. It was a process of getting in touch, a process of humbleness and surrender and opening to the power of the inner self within. And that's where I started to find the meaning and purpose in life. And what I realized was that I was being thrown into a lot of situations. I was in situations where I had the opportunity to serve at the yoga center. I was also thrown into corporate environments. And what I realized was that the purpose for me was to allow the love and the higher consciousness and the higher values to express whatever situation I was in.
Yeah.
Even when there were setbacks. I mean, I went through a time where I was going through a divorce. At the same time, my daughter was becoming a teenager. I bought a new car and someone ran into me. I mean, I had to find a new job. I mean, everything was happening at once.
At once.
And I remember talking to Ramakrishnananda, the yoga master at the center, and he said, if this was anybody else with all those stresses, they'd probably be hospitalized. But, the power of that inner self, just that expressing, it really took me through. And what can happen is in those times of chaos like that, if you can find a center,
Mhm.
then you can have a lot of growth. Like one of the things the yoga master told me was when that was happening, he said, your perception is that your world is falling apart around you. He said, but what's really happening is your energy is involuting, it's rushing into the soul. And he said, just let everything fall apart. Let the power of that come through in all the new situations, you know. And I have found that to be true over and over again. It's
Right,
just, you know, you don't necessarily go, oh, yeah, okay, this is going to happen when you're in that kind of, when all you have all life's major stresses at once.
right.
But it does come through. And I find in daily life, when there's a stressful situation, what I try to do is step back and go and meditate for a while,
Mm-hmm.
get centered, and allow the love to come through, allow the peace to come through.
Right.
And that's, I feel like, the meaning and purpose in life for me.
That's a beautiful story. I want to just say a little plug for our podcast at this point, because really this is the thing that we're trying to talk about. And that is when you're younger and on your spiritual path, it'll feel like a lot of stuff might get thrown at you at once.
Mm-hmm.
We both have had that experience.
Yeah.
You just described I remember this point of your life,
Yeah.
a very critical time in your life when you were going through so much in your divorce. I went through a divorce and near-death experience. It was like boom, 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 boom. You just get whacked upside the head all over the place, and you get through it. You get through it in a stronger um, way that you become really more devoted to your yoga practice. When you say that was true, because it's the thing that helps you get through, and you're so
Right.
grateful for having it. And then, you know, as that process grows as you get older, less shit gets thrown at you. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. You know, because you've learned the lesson of staying centered and not getting thrown completely off
And
course.
so it doesn't have to happen anymore for you.
Mm.
That's what I'm trying to encourage the
Right.
listeners to know, that it's not always going to feel like, you know, you're standing on a train track waiting for
Right.
it to run you over. It does become a most beautiful, harmonious,
Mm-hmm.
peaceful place that you get to live inside this body that is your temple and your vehicle for spirit.
Yeah.
And you are full of these emotions that if you're feeling right now, you can feel them coming over the airwaves because they're pouring through both of us. We have that access to spirit, so you can do anything that you
Yeah.
want, and it does not have to look like suffering in any way.
Right.
It can
Right.
be really glorious. It can be
Yeah.
really fun and full of gratitude and all kinds of good things.
And one of the ways, I just want to mention this in addition to just getting meditative and centering, but one of the things you can do that's so helpful is karma yoga. And that sounds exotic, but all it means is selfless service. You know, give back with no expectation of reward. Help a neighbor, help a friend. Anytime you do that, it opens you. It opens you to that power of the inner self, the sweetness of the inner self to come through, and you'll find it'll help you to find that meaning and purpose more easily.
I love that you said that. That listeners, that's a really, really big key that she gave you right there, because it is a tool. If you are struggling at all in your mind about what your purpose is, do selfless giving. Reach out, talk to a neighbor, smile at somebody when you're walking down the street. That person that's looking at you and looks like they want to growl and bite you, they need a smile more than anything, no more than anybody, you know. Give away that bliss that you have inside of you, and it will continue to grow and soften your ego and allow your heart to open more and grow more so you can give more. That's a real, and yeah, the way people talk about karma yoga, you feel like, oh, I need to go and be on a farm and, you know, cook vegetables and pet goats and and do nice things for my community.
Mhm.
Do it wherever
Right.
you
Right.
are
Right.
right now, right now with the people that you are around, because trust me, those are the people that are most important in your life. Whoever's there right now, they need
Yes,
you and you
they
need
need
them.
you. They
Yeah,
need you
they need
fully, like who you
them.
really are. Yeah.
Exactly. That's so true. So you can do yoga right on the spot right now when you stop listening to this podcast. Go do it.
You'll love it. You'll love the results. You'll love the results.
No doubt.
So I hope this is helpful to you. I know that if you take it to heart, it will be. And
Yeah.
please, if you're having any issues with it, or if you're finding a challenge with it, send us your questions, ask us, and we'll get back to you, and we'll do another podcast on your questions.
Yeah, we would love to. And any ideas you have for talks, just let us know. We are open to doing whatever it is that serves you. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you
Thank you.
next week.
Bye.
Bye.